our first year at CTS was a complete mess. And if you remember, if you were one of our original OG clients in our first year, you can attest by how bare bones that setup was. And it's something that I look back and I'm very proud of that because, we weren't afraid to just go. We weren't afraid to just like jump in and do it, and we started with, again, if you remember, if you were with us back then in 2010 or early days, I mean, our equipment was homemade, borrowed, bought off Craigslist, bought off market. Like people just, we were not afraid to just do it. In other words, okay. Now looking back, like, is homemade equipment the answer for a brand new fitness business? Would I recommend that now? No, I would not. But I give myself props at that time now for just like not waiting for perfection, like we talked about in our first video. Okay. So again, like just kind of looking back at that first year, so many good memories. And I have very fond memories of that time because we were able to make a lot of stuff happen with a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. And we were just very resourceful at the time. I mean, just imagine like what we're in now, this space. It was about a fourth the size. We had no turf. We had random stall mats everywhere. They weren't put like flushed together. We had stuff that we pieced together from Home Depot for equipment. I'm not kidding. We really did. We had very minimal stuff in terms of actual equipment. And this is stuff I had acquired over the years for Christmas. And, my last year of college, I was on Craigslist, like trying to find cheap dumbbells that were used, that were rusty. And I didn't really care. I just needed equipment. And we made it work. We just made it work, and tire sleds, dragging them outside. Like we had tree stumps for sleds that we were pushing. I'm not kidding. Actual tree stumps, logs. We were pushing in the parking lot. It was the most bare bones setup you could think of. It was like almost like watching like an old Rocky movie, but it was great. It worked. And our first client ever, Charles Gravitt, shout out to you, Charles. And shout out to Nadine and Chuck, his parents. They trusted and believed in us at the time. They took a chance on us for his development, and that was what kicked off CTS, very first client. And we were only training athletes at the time, so I feel like we had something really unique and cool. And we just started getting more kids coming in. It was like kind of like very much a referral-based business at the time. And we started with a couple small groups of young athletes, and like I said, we were able to make things happen with our equipment that we had. We didn't need fancy stuff. I knew how to program, and I could still get a lot out of these kids, no matter with what we did or didn't have. Okay. Now, challenges, of course, there was plenty of those. No real systems in place. I was a one-man show. It was just me. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect, but it was very stressful. Yes. Very nerve-wracking, but like I didn't have any doubt in myself or my abilities because I knew this was going to work out. I just knew. I had a funny feeling, or a very strong feeling, I should say, that this was going to work. And I had very strong conviction in myself. And I bet on myself because I knew that I was not going to give up no matter what. And it just it's a test to, the early days again, being that young, I guess, being like 24 years old and nothing to really lose. I didn't have anything to lose. Literally, I had no money, no assets. What do you got to lose? Just do it, And so I guess the lesson of this video that I would love to share with you is, don't be afraid to have a white belt mentality. Don't be afraid to be like that new person. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Every story starts small. Everybody starts as a beginner in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're the new person at school, your first day on a new job, your first day in business, everybody has a story. And you're always going to look back and be like, wow, I wish I knew then what I know now. That's always in hindsight, right? Of course, I wish I knew what I know now that I could implement then. But that's part of my story and part of your story. So again, just to reiterate on, 15 years of CTS and where we've been and what we're doing now and where we're going. I have very fond memories of our first year, and I would never take anything back because these are lessons that help me learn and grow. And if you're not afraid to fail, if you're not afraid to put yourself out there, whatever facet you have or whatever avenue you go with this mindset, it doesn't have to be in business, be with anything. You will succeed, in my opinion. You will, but you got to be ready to go all in, and you got to be ready to have some grit. So, I would love to hear, your story. Like if you're waiting for the perfect time, perfect setup, don't start messy. Consistency always wins, even if it's imperfect action. At least you're taking some action. So I would love to hear your story in the comments. Drop it below. Like, I would love to hear your story. Like, or maybe a time where you were new, or maybe you felt embarrassed, or you were a beginner. I would love to hear, how you started and what you've done to overcome that. And I think it could help other people and help them relate to what we're talking about now and to others that may watch this video down the road. So appreciate you for tuning in. This is day 2 of our 28-day series, 15 years of CTS. And I cannot wait to share more with you as these videos come out. Thanks for watching.